Welcome back wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Nathan Bell's got another commentary video for you today. Like, subscribe, share, get around Nate and his awesome series of videos. Today, Nate wants to talk about near-death experiences.
Yeah. Well, I was watching a video the other night on Big Think about near-death experiences. Big Think is a pretty reasonable source. You know, it's a science blog on YouTube. There's a lot of good scientists that talk on Big Think, so you can trust most of what's coming through Big Think. Michio Kaku talks a lot on Big Think, and I watch Big Think quite a bit. And I was watching another video on Big Think. Another neuroscientist who is coming out interested in near-death experiences. Now, over the last sort of 10 to 15 years, more and more psychiatrists and psychologists and neuroscientists and doctors who've had experience with people who've had near-death experiences are coming out and saying they think there's something interesting to it. So, you know, there are a number of these doctors, and you can go and look them up yourself, some of the who are coming out and saying they've tracked thousands of cases of near-death experiences and they think that the phenomena has some value. It's interesting because across all the reports that are being documented of near-death experiences, people have very similar experiences. They see a tunnel of light. They meet a being of light who is a being of all compassion and all love. And they come back with a sense of unity with the universe, and a knowing and an understanding that everyone is one, and that the important things in life are compassion and communication and community, and loving human beings. So scientists who are coming out in support of near-death experiences aren't necessarily saying that this represents proof that there is an afterlife or that the mind survives bodily death. They're saying that people come back from these experiences with something that is valuable from a psychological perspective. They come back feeling better about themselves and feeling better about life and feeling more connected and feeling happier, and that it gives them some almost enlightenment or enlightened state of mind that helps them live a better life. So it's about saying if a person has a near-death experience and they come back feeling better about life and feeling better prepared to live a better life, then the experience is valuable to them from a personal subjective perspective, and we should embrace the experience and the positive psychological benefits of the experience. However, some people are also becoming open-minded about the idea that the mind might survive death, and I've read a number of articles from credible scientists who speculate that perhaps there is some aspect of our being that does survive death, and I don't think it's such an unrealistic thing. You know, we don't have to be strict atheists. We can believe in some of these supernatural ideas. Some of these ideas might have validity. I often think, is the universe a living conscious entity, and is consciousness a force? You know, the question is consciousness just the result of chemical processes in the brain, or is consciousness more of a force in the universe and something that lives within us and animates us? And I think that's a possibility. So I think it is possible that perhaps we do have a soul or a spirit of some form and some description, and that may live on after we die. I don't think that's such an unrealistic thing, and I think that could be scientifically valid. I believe that our conscious spirit returns to the collective conscious of the universe after we die. I actually believe that we lose our individuality when we return to the collective consciousness, and that we become one with the hive mind of the universe and the collective consciousness of the universe. And I think it's a bit like the Force from Star Wars. So my religious spiritual beliefs are a bit like the beliefs of the Jedi. So I'm a bit of a Jedi, and I think those things could be real, and we have to keep an open mind because it is possible that could be the case. But if you go and look, you'll see that these ideas are starting to creep into science, and scientists and physicists and neuroscientists and those who work with the mind, and particularly those who work with the dying and doctors in hospitals, are coming back saying we're starting to think that there might be some validity to some of these ideas. So it's almost as if some scientists are becoming a bit religious spiritual and starting to say we don't have to be strict atheists and believe that death is the final process and that there is nothing after death. There could be something after death. So I'm open-minded about the idea. And also a lot of these doctors who work with people who've nearly died, they tell these phenomenal stories. The neuroscientist I was watching on Big Think the other night told a story where he had a stain on his tie, which he had covered up with his jacket, and when he was dealing with the woman who was dead, pronounced dead or unconscious, and there's no way that she could have seen the stain on his tie, and then the next day he had changed his clothing, obviously, as you do, and he came in and she had been revived, and she knew about the stain on his tie, even though she had been pronounced dead or unconscious, so there was no way in the physical world that she could know about the stain on his tie, and she had said that she had seen him in the hallway while she was unconscious. She had been out of body and she had seen him in the hallway and she had observed the stain on his tie, and he said he was absolutely baffled by how she could have known this when she was unconscious and her mind wasn't functioning, her brain wasn't functioning, yet she knew this information. So there are all these little psychic experiences that people seem to have when they're out of body and when they're having near-death experiences. So I actually think the mind might transcend the physical body and the mind might reach past the physical body, and there might be a collective consciousness in the universe that runs through the whole universe. And it sort of comes down to things like entanglement principles in physics, of like entanglement. If all particles are connected, can particles transfer information from one to another so that there can be psychic experiences? Are all particles entangled across the universe sharing information with one another? So there might actually be these psychic experiences, and there might actually be these out-of-body astral experiences, and they may not just exist in the mind and be figments of our imagination. Our minds may actually be connected across the unified universe. So it's an interesting idea. It's very in fitting with the New Age spiritual movement, and a lot of scientists, and particularly neuroscientists, seem to be coming on board and starting to ponder these ideas and asking if there's any validity to any of these ideas. So you should keep an open mind. You know, there could be spiritual aspects to the universe. Perhaps the mind does transcend the physical body, and perhaps there is something of us that lives on after death. But even if these experiences are just figments of the imagination, if people have these experiences and then they come back to life and they feel better about themselves and about life from a psychological standpoint, then that's beneficial to their mental health. If it helps them live a more rewarding and satisfying life to have had these experiences, then that's good, and we should look for how these experiences can improve our psychological state and our mental state, and we should embrace these experiences and see if they can be used in therapy. And this also feeds into out-of-body experiences that people have on psychedelics, and it also feeds into experiences that people have during psychosis and when having hallucinations. We want to start looking for the positive, rewarding aspects of these experiences and see if they can be used in therapy to improve people's mental state, first and foremost. Then we can start asking whether there is some supernatural aspect to the universe, whether there is a collective consciousness like the Force in Star Wars, and whether we should all adopt the Jedi religion and start calling ourselves Jedis. So drop a comment in the comment section if you've ever had a near-death experience, or you know anyone who's had a near-death experience, and what you think about near-death experiences.